I woke up late, around 10. It was a typical Saturday in Austin. The heat of the pavement, the dogs on the neighbor's lawn, someone's leaf vacuum in the distance. The house was quiet. Melissa had returned late the night before from meetings. Work, she said. In the kitchen was a grocery list, written in her neat handwriting. Eggs, spinach, toast, cherry tomatoes. Next to it, a small arrow and "Don't forget coffee for the French press." I turned the music down, put the pan on, checked the bread. Our brunch was simple but consistent. I was chopping tomatoes when I realized my MacBook cable was missing again. The charger was always moving around the house, but most often it ended up in her bag. Melissa was still asleep. I knocked on the bedroom door. "Hey, where's my charger?" "In the blue bag," she answered sleepily. "Inside pocket." The blue bag was by the front door. I pulled out my wallet, a stack of receipts, a small cosmetic case. There was no charger. I laid everything out on the mat and then noticed the iPad case. Their corporate presentations often traveled home with her because the startup was growing and she was carrying the marketing. I put the iPad on the table, returned the things to the bag, and went to get the charger from the desk. It was empty too. Eventually, I went back to the bag, checked the inside pocket again. There was the charger, hooked to the zipper. I was about to go to the kitchen when the iPad screen lit up. A standard reminder banner. Nothing special, just the date, time, and text. Room booked. Thursday, 12:30, The Haywood. I stood there, cable in hand, looking at the words. My brain immediately tried to construct an innocent version. Meeting with a partner, filming an interview. She sometimes booked the lobby for recordings. But something else echoed in my head. 3 Thursdays in a row, she had been late, citing a live discussion with a client. I hung the cable on a chair, turned off the gas under the frying pan, and looked at the screen again. The banner had disappeared. The screen was left with a list of recent messages. The first 2 lines were business ones. Below that, LF and the phrase, "I'll bring Chinese food, your favorite dumplings." LF, I saw in her email. Lucas Ferris, CEO. We didn't know each other, but I'd heard his name often. He knew how to talk about the market and growth, and in Melissa's words, he had a good priority map. I opened the refrigerator, returned the eggs and spinach to the shelf, and sat down at the table. I wasn't shaking. I was just quiet. I didn't wake Melissa right away. I put the coffee on, washed the frying pan, and put the cable away again. In the bedroom, she was already scrolling through her phone. "I thought you were frying eggs," she said, squinting against the light. Changed my mind. "Listen, you had a reminder pop up on your iPad. About the hotel. Are you filming something for work?" She looked at me without nervousness. "Oh, that. We sometimes meet there with a partner. He has an office on East 7th. It's inconvenient to bring everyone to us. The lobby is quiet." "Why room? There are small meeting rooms there." She yawned. "You know we always catch slots wherever we can." I nodded. She stood up, threw on a t-shirt, and went into the bathroom. I returned to the kitchen and made toast. We ate in silence, discussing mundane matters. Who was going to the mechanic, when to change the filter. I found myself checking her eyes and tone. There was nothing to indicate alarm, but the words on the screen wouldn't leave my head. After breakfast, I chose a different line. No arguing. No fuss. We spent the day as usual. We went to H-E-B, bought groceries, exchanged quick banter with the cashier. I got a coffee to go. She bought a new desk organizer. We looked like a normal couple in city photos. That evening, she said she was meeting a coworker for a run along the river on Sunday and asked if I wanted to join her. I declined. Night shift next week, need to get some sleep. Sunday passed routinely. She really came back in running shape, tired and happy. I washed the car in the driveway and listened to her story about some launch. We went to bed early. On Monday, I went to work. The morning started with the usual. I checked alerts, tidied up the racks, made my rounds. At noon, I went down to the floor below. Our corporate lawyer, Joe Coleman, worked there in the other wing. I wasn't going to make any sudden moves. I wanted to understand the field. He always had a kettle on and cookies in a tin. "Is it something serious or just a place to hang out?" he asked when I knocked. "I want to ask a question, a hypothetical one." "There's little hypothetical within these walls," he chuckled. "But go ahead." I sat down opposite him. I said it evenly: "A marriage without children, a house in joint ownership, Texas. If we have to separate, what is important?" He listened without comment, then briefly laid out the path. "Do not do stupid things. Do not read other people's correspondence. Do not break devices. Gather facts legally." Gave the contact of a divorce lawyer, if necessary, and another one a private detective. Not for surveillance in the movie sense, but for observation within the law. "Are you sure you want to get involved in this?" he asked as we left. "I want to understand where I stand." "Then don't delay and don't burn bridges," he said. "Make sure you don't regret your actions in 6 months." I walked out with a piece of paper and got into the car. There was no noise in my head. There was no rage. There was a feeling that I had to finish the thought. Longhorn Investigations smelled of old carpet rubber and sour coffee. The receptionist asked if I needed an appointment and almost immediately led me to a woman in a dark shirt. She introduced herself. "Ashley. Used to work in Houston, now here." "What happened?" I told her without details. I told her about the hotel, about the reminder, about LF. She nodded, made notes. In the end, she said in simple words, "We can see if the pattern repeats. No hacking, no illegal stuff. Surveillance from public places, photos of entrances and exits, time, check-in, car numbers. 2 or 3 weeks makes sense. If it's a work meeting, it will be visible. If it's not work, it will be visible too." "How much does it cost?" She showed the price list and handed over the contract. I signed it without haggling. She looked at my signature and asked, "Do you really need this? You can change your mind." "I want facts," I replied. "No guesswork." We shook hands. She said she would be in touch by the end of the week with the first report if anything happened. On my way home, I stopped at Radio Coffee and got a filter. There was a guy playing guitar inside. People were talking quietly. I sat down outside. I had no plan to get even. I wasn't thinking about how she would explain it. I was thinking about what to do with my part of my life. On Thursday, I left for work a little later on purpose, so I could be home around lunchtime. Melissa left the house around 11, dressed in business attire, with her iPad in a case. She said she was having lunch with her partner. I nodded. I didn't force it. I just said I'd pick up some jackets from the dry cleaner. The day dragged on smoothly. I knew I had to keep up appearances. She came back in the evening in a good mood, brought a paper bag of noodles, and said they were generous with bonuses if we made it a block. We had dinner and watched a baseball game. Before bed, I went out to the porch and sat on the steps. The neighbors were discussing installing a new mailbox. Nothing dramatic was happening around us. The drama, if there was any, was confined to the two of us. A week later, Ashley scheduled a meeting. I arrived at their office, and she handed me a thin folder and a flash drive. On the cover were dates. Inside were printouts of photos. The entrance to the Haywood, Melissa in a familiar jacket, a man next to her, his face out of focus, but his height and silhouette recognizable from corporate photos. A clock on the wall in the lobby said 12:35. Below were the license plates of cars in the parking lot, the time of departure. There were also Tuesdays in the report. South Congress Athletic, the coach's name was Kai Mercer. A photo of the smoothie bar counter, 2 glasses on a tray, a receipt with a timestamp. "We didn't go inside," Ashley said, "just the public areas. And you have this." She held up a printout of her credit card statements. 2 charges on Thursday in the hotel area, 1 on Tuesday at the gym. I leafed through the documents. The pages rustled. Ashley didn't ask any unnecessary questions. I thanked her and paid the final amount. "What next?" she asked. "Then a lawyer," I replied. At home, I put the folder on the table and sat down next to her. I didn't know what I was going to say to Melissa. I wasn't seething. I wasn't going to throw words and insults. I just realized that our marriage didn't end because of one Thursday. It ended earlier. Thursday was just confirmation. That evening, I wrote a letter to Amelia Clark, whose contact details I had given her. I briefly described the situation and asked for a meeting. Then I set the timer for my coffee and went to bed. Melissa came in late, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "I have a busy day tomorrow. Don't wait." "Okay," I replied. That night, I woke up to the sound of the air conditioner. I got up, walked around the house, and stopped at the front door. On a hook hung our old Iowa State baseball cap. We dragged it along on our drive out west when we were first married. I took it down, blew the dust off it, and put it back. I was still the man who'd bet on a long life with one person. I wasn't ashamed of that bet. I simply accepted that it hadn't paid off. In the morning, I made us toast, put on coffee, and went to work. And already in the car, I realized that this week had divided my life into before and after, although nothing had changed in the day itself. The same roads, the same shops, the same heat, and yet different. I scheduled an appointment with my lawyer for Tuesday morning. Amelia Clark's office was in a nondescript building on Congress Avenue. Glass, carpet, a water dispenser. The receptionist smiled, as if she could do that even on a bad day, and handed me a form to fill out some basic information. Name, address, wedding date, children blank, real estate house in East Austin, mortgage, 2 cars, joint accounts, 401k for me, era for Melissa, no prenup. Amelia came out without further delay, short dark hair, gray blouse, folder. She said hello and asked if it was convenient for me to talk without recording. I said yes. I sat down opposite her and laid out everything without emotion and without details that would not change anything. About reminders, about Thursdays, about the detective's report. About the fact that I didn't want a scandal for the sake of a scandal and didn't want to ruin her career. I needed a house and a clean closure. "Let's structure it," she said, and laid out the sheets. Texas is a marital property state. The court divides fairly, not necessarily in half, but close to that. No children, so less arguments. The grounds for divorce are insupportability, or, in our terms, irreconcilable differences. Infidelity as a factor may influence the division, but moderately. Your materials can be used. The important thing is the method of obtaining them. According to you, there were no illegal actions. "There was none," I replied. "I didn't break in or take anything." Okay. Next, options. First, we file quietly, offer a mediation package. We divide the bills, leave the cars to the owners, you ask for the house with compensation for her share. Second, we file with a statement of guilt, prepare for bargaining and possible publicity. From your tone, I see that the first path is closer to you. Yes. Then we need to take action. She pushed the list toward me. 3 years of documents, tax returns, 401k and ERA statements, mortgage, bank statements, car titles, insurance, utilities, inventory. In parallel, I'll prepare a draft petition and a voluntary agreement package. We'll include non-disclosure and non-discrediting. In terms of time frame, barring war, 8 to 10 weeks. "I need a house," I repeated. "I've invested a lot in the renovation. I'm ready to pay her share from my own money and savings, and it's important to me that it be done without noise." "Got it. Regarding third parties," she looked up, "you mentioned the general. I don't recommend using formulations that sound like blackmail. You can have a conversation between adults, but without threats. Everything you do must stand up to scrutiny. You don't need to punish, but close the issue." "That's what I want," I said, calmly, briefly, without swearing and without drama. "Then I work on the paperwork. You work on the evidence and finances. And one more thing. Please keep it within the limits. No scenes at home, no recording with hidden devices, no posts on social media. It all comes back like a boomerang. If you have emotions, write to me, not to her." I nodded. She asked a couple more details. The dates of the house purchase, who made the down payment, were there any gifts from my parents? I answered, We covered the advance payment in half from savings and my bonus for the project. There were no gifts. On the way out, she handed me a folder called Client Package, a checklist and samples. We agreed that I would send the scans that same day. The bank knew me by name. Teresa nodded at the entrance and asked if I should take a booklet about cashback updates. I smiled and asked to print out statements for the year for the general account and my personal account. She checked the ID, printed it out, and put it in an envelope without a logo. I withdrew a small advance in cash from the coin machine to pay the notary and for unforeseen expenses. Teresa said, "If you need a certificate for the court, just call," and I thanked her. I asked for a couple of hours off from work. The data center was cool and familiar. Javier, from the next shift, nodded toward the fan in the rack and said, "This block is spinning like crazy again. Will you check?" "I'll check," I replied and climbed into the panel. He sat down next to the coffee. "It seems like you didn't get enough sleep. Is everything okay?" "Fine. Household chores. I wasn't going to discuss it." He matched my tone and turned the conversation to the Nebraska football team, a comfortable, non-committal topic. By evening, I had sent Amelia the scans. She responded within an hour. "Got it. We'll send a draft of the agreement and petition tomorrow." I sat down at the kitchen table and composed a short email to Lucas. Neutral subject: cross-promotion and partnership sync. The text was simple. "Lucas, a couple of thoughts on our shared market and an idea for compensation on your marketing team. Is lunch at Perry's convenient for you on Thursday at noon? I'll be downtown." I read the email 3 times. There was no hint. I hit send. For dinner, Melissa ordered a salad and brought it home. We ate on the patio. The sky was getting dark. The neighbors were turning on their porch lights. She said, "We have a busy day on Thursday. I might leave at lunchtime and come back late." "Got it," I replied. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You seem kind of closed off." "Lots of work. And I'm also thinking about changing the cable channels in the living room. It looks sloppy." "Change it," she said, and that was the end of the conversation. I spent the night in the guest room. There was no official reason. I said it was hot and that I needed to check the air conditioner. She said nothing. In the morning, we went our separate ways without kissing. On Wednesday, Amelia sent the documents. The draft petition was laconic. Marriage concluded on such and such date. Cohabitation ended on such and such date. Marriage broke down due to irreconcilable differences. Appendix draft voluntary agreement. House mine, compensation hers. Accounts closed and divided. Cars left to owners. Pension fair recalculation. A clause on mutual non-dissemination of personal information and that the parties refrain from commenting on social networks. At the end, a schedule. Filing, response deadline, possible mediation meeting. I called Amelia. 2 questions, I said. First, compensation for the house. The amount today is so much. I am prepared to cover it from my savings and from any outside money I can get. Second, we do not write the word betrayal. "We don't write," she said. "We're taking the quiet route. In an appendix to the agreement, you can indicate that there are grounds for a special division, but without details. You don't need that. If everything works out, the judge will sign without a hearing." Fine. After the call, I printed out a folder for myself and a separate, thin one for Lucas. Dates, a couple of pages with a lobby and parking, a receipt from the smoothie bar. Nothing extra, no screenshots, just what conveys the meaning. I stopped by the dry cleaners that afternoon to pick up my jackets. The owner, Mrs. Ramirez, asked how the weather was going to be next week. I told her it was going to be hot. She nodded and complained about the dryers getting too hot. We talked about air conditioners, the usual stuff that keeps your head in place. That evening, I texted Melissa. "I booked a plumber for Friday morning for the bathroom faucet. I'll be home, don't worry." She replied, "Thank you." No hearts, no smiley faces. We were being polite, like roommates in a rented apartment. Lucas's reply came at 9:14 p.m. on Wednesday. "Thursday, 12 o'clock, Perry's good. We'll be alone. L, short and to the point. I confirmed, meet you in the lobby. Before going to bed, I made a list of things for Thursday. A passport, so there would be no questions at the cash register when paying, a business card in case the waiter asked about the bill, a folder. I decided to pay myself so that the gesture would not look like a favor. Clothes, regular office clothes, without an attempt to look tougher. I woke up in the night and went to the kitchen to get some water. On the fridge was our old magnet from Iowa with the inscription about the football team. I took it down and put it in a drawer. Not because I wanted to remove the past, but so as not to see it in front of my eyes while I was dealing with current affairs. On Thursday morning, I arrived at Perry's a little early. The lobby smelled of meat and lemon. The hostess asked my name. I named a table for 12. Lucas arrived promptly, wearing a jacket and no tie. We shook hands. He ordered water, and so did I. We talked about the weather and the roads for a few minutes until the waiter went to get drinks. Then I put a folder in front of him. "What is this?" he asked, not pretending not to understand. A short set of facts. I don't need moral talk. I came with a specific proposal. I don't have the task of ruining your life. I have the task of closing my own. He didn't open the folder right away. He looked at me, then finally flipped through the first pages. It didn't take him long to figure out what was in there. He looked up. "What do you want?" "I want Melissa to leave home without a war and be able to close her share in peace. We have no children. I am asking for the house for myself. I will pay her share in cash. I see an option where this can be done without a scandal and without losses for your company. You arrange an adjustment of compensation for her, plus $1,000 a month officially and a one-time bonus of $25,000 until the end of the week. This closes my part of the calculation. Then we do not communicate. I file quietly, without indicating guilt. I do not tell anyone anything. If not, I file in an expanded manner, and the documents will go to the addresses that your lawyers know. I do not want to go there, but I will go there if you refuse." He was silent. I could see how he was calculating the risks. There was no shouting in the conversation. He asked a couple of questions: the amount, the deadlines, the specifics in the papers. I answered clearly. He said, "I need to make 2 calls." I nodded and moved away so that he could go out into the corridor. 5 minutes later, he returned and said, "It will be done." We agreed that the courier would take the adjustment documents. That was the end of the meeting. I paid and went outside. It was midday and hot. I didn't feel like I had won. This wasn't a competition. This was the end of a stage I hadn't chosen. I got in my car and drove to Amelia's office. I left a short note for her at the reception, confirming the arrangements, waiting for the courier with the documents, ready to submit. She called me an hour later and said, "Okay, as soon as the company's papers arrive, I'll prepare one of the addendums to the court package. Please don't tell anyone about this." "I'm not telling," I replied. I got home early that evening. It was strangely calm. I checked the bathroom faucet, which was indeed leaking, and texted the plumber to confirm. I put the beer in the fridge and cleared the papers off the table so Melissa wouldn't see my drafts. I turned on a baseball game on mute. I called my dad. We talked for 15 minutes about our neighbors in Nebraska, his garden, and the price of gas. He asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "Working on something. I'm fine." He said, "If anything happens, call me. I'm here." Before bed, I wrote Amelia another email. "If Melissa signs without argument, what's the next step?" She responded quickly. "Filing, waiting, finalizing. We'll get through this without any unnecessary meetings. You're doing great." I turned off the light in the guest room and lay down. I did not try to dissect the past into reasons. I was busy with current affairs. I chose a quiet path and was going to follow it to the end. On Monday afternoon, Ashley called to say she was ready to finalize the report. I stopped by on my way home from work. Empty parking lot, humming air conditioner, same sour coffee at reception. Ashley met me in a windowless conference room, put a thicker folder on the table and a plastic envelope with a flash drive in it. Here's a summary timeline, she said. 3 Thursdays in a row, the Haywood, all about the same time. 2 Tuesdays, the athletic club on South Congress. We didn't go inside, just the public areas. And here are the open payment statements, taxis, food, smoothies, within the law. I scrolled through. The timeline was neat. Dates, times, shots from the lobby, parking, license plates, a receipt for noodles delivered, a printout of a payment at the fitness bar. No yellow details. Enough was enough. There's no confirmation of identity for LF, Ashley added. But if you compare it to public photos of your CEO, the height and shoulder position match. I'm not saying for sure, but the likelihood is high. There is no need to assert, I said. I have already decided otherwise. She nodded. I paid the final amount. Ashley extended her hand. Don't say happily met, she said dryly. But if you ever need parking records or schedule confirmations, right ahead. And please, no amateur performances. I understand, I said. Thank you. On the way out, I stopped at a taco stand. The guy at the stove asked if I wanted the sauce hot. I said medium. I ate on the hood of my car so I wouldn't have to sit in the car and drag my folder over the threshold into my home. A family in a minivan pulled up next to me, the kids arguing over who would get a bottle of water. It was a typical Monday in a city that pretends to have everything under control. I took the folder home and hid it in the bottom drawer of the guest room dresser. Melissa came home tired that evening, took her shoes off at the door, asked if we were going to cook or order. We ordered. She told me about an update at their client, about a new analytics tool. I listened, answered briefly. I didn't ask questions about Thursdays. There was a plan, and it didn't include talking until the documents were ready. On Tuesday morning, before work, I stopped by my corporate lawyer, Joe. No appointment, just caught him in the hallway. Did you bring everything? He asked, nodding at the folder. Yes, I want to understand if everything is clean from the legal point of view. There was no hunt, only public places and my own financial statements. That's what was important, he said. You're a good boy for not getting on the phones. And once again, hold the line. Less talk, less problems. Listen. And, he raised a finger, when you close the matter with the general, do not say words that sound like, or I will ruin your life. Say it in such a way that any stenographer in court could reproduce the text without misinterpretations. Already done, I replied. He agreed. The courier is on the way. Joe let out a short breath. Then go to the end and sleep. Otherwise, you look like a server after 3 downtimes. The data center was quiet. I replaced the fan on the rack Javier had mentioned, checked the logs, and went for a quick lunch at the food trucks that park nearby on Tuesdays. Our network engineer, Mark, was standing at the kebab. You're missing, he said, gesturing to the empty space. We're getting the crew together for a barbecue on Saturday. Are you in? I'm not sure. I'll wait until next time. Do you need me to bring you some firewood? He chuckled. You look like you're renovating your house. Almost, I said. A little plumbing and wiring. He nodded and switched to baseball. A good colleague who knows how to stay out of things that aren't wanted. The courier called in the afternoon. I asked him to bring the documents to work so as not to make a scene at home. At 15:42, the security at the reception called and said that a person was coming to see me. I went down. The guy in the polo gave me a flat envelope without logos. Please sign, he said, showing the electronic invoice. I signed and went up to my room. Inside was a bonus certificate and a letter about the compensation adjustment for Melissa. Technically, it looked like a quarterly recalculation and salary change due to the expansion of the area of responsibility. No other people's names, clean office language that everyone understood. I took a photo of the cover letter and forwarded it to Amelia. 20 minutes later, she replied, I received it. I can include it in the attachment. When they're ready, bring the originals. Tomorrow, before lunch, I replied, yes. I put the envelope in my laptop bag so I wouldn't forget. In the evening, I stopped by a hardware store. I bought a new cable channel for the living room, a set of fasteners, an extension cord, filters for the air conditioner. I looked for what I needed with my eyes and didn't think about anything. This method helps. You do it with your hands and the day falls into a clear sequence. At home, I secured the cable channel along the baseboard and removed the extra wires behind the TV. It took an hour. Melissa came and looked into the living room. "It's better overall," she said. "More even. Listen, I'll need a table in the kitchen on Friday. We have a neighborhood call. I don't want to sit in the bedroom. I'll go to the office, no problem." She went to change. I laid out the tools in the cabinet, put the air conditioner filter in a visible place so I wouldn't forget to change it. On Wednesday morning, I took the originals to Amelia. She met me at the office right away, sat down opposite me, and put my papers next to her own drafts. "Excellent," she said. "We have everything to attach to the package and, if necessary, to the confidential annex. Without details, but with meaning. Today, I will send 2 sets to the courier for signature, for your wife through her office, but without annotations, and the general package to the court. There will be a tracking number by evening. I want it to be quiet at home," I said, "without scenes. Then speak briefly. Give her the right to take a lawyer. Don't argue about the wording. Moving things later. Today our goal is signatures." I nodded. As we left, she added, "If she asks, 'Why is it like this?' don't explain. Refer to, 'We've reached a dead end.' It's true, and it resolves the argument. And then it will all be clear anyway." I drove to work across South Congress. Not to see anything, but just out of habit. The coffee shops, the signs, the tourists with cameras. The gym was full of cars. I parked across the street, walked out for 5 minutes, bought a water from the vending machine, and got back in. I didn't need to check Tuesday. I'd already checked everything. But I needed to acknowledge that Tuesday existed and keep driving. At lunchtime, I met Javier in the cafeteria. "Listen," he said, already reaching for the chicken, "the guys here want to put together an amateur jam on Saturday. Guitars, bass, no ambitions. You said you played in college." "Yes, I haven't taken out my guitar for a long time." "Then get it. We are all grown men. There is no one else to listen but ourselves." "Maybe," I answered. "I'll think about it." Inside, I have already decided to get it out, and not for the sake of occupying my head, but because it is a part of me that I have long ago put away in a box. After work, I stopped by Radio Coffee. The bar was half empty. I grabbed a filter and sat by the window. A few minutes later, a familiar barista, Trent, sat down next to me and knew me by sight. "You were missing," he said. "Is everything okay?" "There's a lot of work." I smiled. "The coffee is good. We're inviting the guys to Bluegrass on Friday. If you want to come, come." "I'll come in," I said. Got home early. Laid out Amelia's sheets of paper on the table at home, what would need to be signed when she sent the courier. Put the envelope with the compensation adjustment next to it. Checked again to see if there were any extra printouts that shouldn't be seen. The guest book was closed. The folder was at the bottom of the drawer. At 9 o'clock, a letter arrived from Amelia. "The courier is scheduled for Friday, late afternoon, to catch the wife at home. Your signature is at the notary tomorrow morning. An assistant will come to us." I answered, "Okay." I looked at the baseball schedule, turned off the TV. The house was quiet. Thursday passed without incident. Melissa texted that she would be late for a meeting and later asked if I should pick up anything on the way. I said, "No, I have everything." Before bed, I checked where her old college t-shirt was and a few photos of us together, not because I was going to give them away, but because I didn't want them to end up in my dresser. On Friday morning, I met Amelia's assistant at a notary's office near downtown. A small office, a glass partition, a wooden desk. The notary asked for identification, attached seals to 2 sheets of paper, and explained where to sign. It all took 10 minutes. The assistant took the package and said, "The courier will be at your house after 5. Will you be there?" "Yes." Okay, I'll send you a text message in half an hour. I drove home through Lamar, stopped at the hardware store to get some light bulbs for the porch, stopped at the car wash to get the car serviced. In the car, I listened to the local radio. The morning hosts discussed the I-35 traffic and the new food trucks at the festival, the kind of simple chatter that keeps the city on track. At home, I cleaned the kitchen, took out the beer bottles, and put them in the fridge. I checked where the remote was, turned off notifications on my phone. The courier sent me a text message. I'll be there at 17 o'clock, 17:30. I replied, okay. By 5 o'clock, I was strangely calm. I hadn't rehearsed my lines. I decided speak briefly, without long introductions, and do not argue about terms. Everything else had already been done. Lawyers, numbers, signatures, logistics. Inside, there was only one thing left to live on. How exactly was not yet clear. But I saw the first things that I wanted to bring back. Music, running in the morning, calling my father not on schedule, but just like that. The phone blinked. I'm here. I opened the door. The courier handed me a thick envelope. I signed the screen. He left. I put the envelope on the table, next to the compensation letter, and sat down on the couch. A baseball game was on the screen. The sound was turned down. At 5:26 p.m., a step creaked on the porch. Someone approached the door. The step on the porch creaked again. The door opened with a key. Melissa entered quickly, like a person who expected a normal evening. Bag, phone in hand, business clothes without unnecessary things. She stopped, saw a thick envelope on the table and a thin folder next to it. "What is this?" she asked, standing at the entrance. "Documents," I said. "We could sit down and talk, but without the show." She came closer, looked at the notary's stamp on one of the sheets, at the courier's service sticker. Her shoulders slumped a little. "Is this a scam?" "Yes. Quiet. A package that can be signed without a court and without strangers. The house remains mine. You get compensation. We divide all the bills according to the list. You can take a lawyer. You will have time to read it." She was silent for a few seconds. Then she took off her jacket, hung it on the back of a chair, and looked at another envelope. "And what is this?" "A letter about adjusting your compensation, additional payment, and a one-time bonus. Legally, through HR. It's not my money. It's what will cover your share of the house. The paperwork is already done. Have you talked to Lucas?" "Yes." "When?" "Yesterday. At lunch. Briefly, without emotions." She exhaled slowly and rubbed her forehead. "You prepared all this in a week." "Not in a week. In a couple of days, and with normal lawyers. I don't want a public showdown. I want to separate in a humane way." "You didn't even ask what I would say," she said quietly. "I'm ready to listen, but I've already made my decision." She sat down and opened the folder. She read slowly, running her finger along the lines. She asked about 2 points: the deadlines for closing the joint account and transferring utility bills to my name. I answered. She didn't have many questions in essence. When she reached the point about mutual refusal to comment publicly, she looked up. "Is this a matter of principle?" "Yes." "Okay." She closed the folder and pushed it aside. "I did stupid things," she said. "Do you want to talk about that or go straight to logistics?" "To logistics. The rest won't change anything." She nodded. She took out her phone and opened the calendar. "Where will I be today?" she asked without harshness. "Go to a friend's, to a hotel." "Better today. Take what you need, the rest later, according to the list. I'll be home. We'll make a schedule for when you'll come for your things, with or without your lawyer. No questions or scenes." "Okay." She stood up. "I'll take the suitcase." While she was going up to the bedroom, I opened the refrigerator and put water on the table. The house was quiet, only the air conditioner was humming. She came down 10 minutes later with a small suitcase, a laptop, and a box of shoes. "I'll take the documents with me," she said, pointing to the folder. "I need to show them to the lawyer." "Where should the courier sign?" "Amelia will send an electronic link. She will organize the papers that need to be signed at the notary herself. You can use your notary." The deadlines are in the letter. She nodded and looked at me. Do you have any questions for me? Right now. Any. 1. Do you want to discuss this with me, or should we leave it to the lawyers in silence? You already have your answer, she said. You want this to end. Yes. She looked around the living room. On the shelf was our framed Iowa photo. I took the frame down and set it on the table, placing her old Iowa t-shirt next to it. Take it, I said. I don't want these things to lie here empty. She took the t-shirt and the photo. She thought for a second. Do you want to see me again before signing? Only for handing over keys and things. It would be better to set a time. In writing. No phone calls. Okay? She put the suitcase next to the door, returned to the table, and put her set of keys next to the folder. She left the card for the garage. You need the garage card for now, she said. I'll park on the street when I get the rest of my things. It will do. She almost reached the door and stopped. It wasn't all about love in the movie, she said. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you how it was. I understand, I replied, but we're not talking about movies here. I'll sign, she said. I'll give my lawyer the materials today. If he needs to clarify anything, he'll write to yours. Let him write to Amelia. I know. She took her suitcase and went out. The door closed quietly. I sat down on the couch, turned up the volume on the TV a couple of notches. The commentators were discussing the serve. I took a sip of water, went to the kitchen, and cleared everything off the table that no one needed to see. Half an hour later, a message came from Amelia. Package on the other side. Standard response times. We'll send an update on Monday. I wrote, accepted. I slept soundly that night. In the morning, I did what I had planned. I replaced the air conditioner filter, checked the faucet, and texted the mechanic the time. At noon, my father called. We talked about his neighbor, the corn harvest, the new tractor at the county fair. He asked, "Are you really okay?" "I'm here," I said. "I'm doing what needs to be done." "Okay, go to the river," he said. "It always helped you." I went to the embankment after 5. There were a lot of people. Some were jogging, some were walking their dogs. I walked a mile, sat down on a bench, looked at the water. My head was not empty. There were things that now needed to be done. Notify the bank about the imminent closure of the joint account, make a list of utilities, buy new sheets for the bed, which would no longer be shared. I wrote down the items in notes and went home. On Sunday, an email arrived from Amelia. Her lawyer acknowledged receipt. No questions yet. Notary signing for her is on Tuesday. Everything is ready for you. Once signed, we will begin the countdown. Waiting time is 60 days, but no hearings unless anyone changes the terms. I replied, "Thank you." In the evening, I took the guitar out of the box. I put the stand in the garage, tightened the strings. My fingers were rusty, but they remembered the basic chords. I didn't play loudly. The neighbors don't like surprises. After 20 minutes, that was enough. I put the guitar away, made myself a sandwich, watched the news. I slept in the guest room. It was easier that way. On Monday at work, everything went according to schedule. Javier brought me coffee and cookies, put them on the table without a word. I said, "Thank you." He nodded and left. Mark wrote in the general chat about Saturday Jam. I said I would. He gave me a thumbs up. Amelia called during the day. Her signatures are scheduled for tomorrow. The notary's address has been confirmed. I'll send you the number of the courier who will bring us the originals. Next filing in court. The package is ready. Fine. How are you at home? Calm down. She left on Friday. We agreed to hand over the things in a week, on Saturday, during the day, in front of a witness. No discussions. Excellent. Do it that way. List what she takes and what remains. Please, without general formulations. And one more thing. When you change digital passwords for utilities and streaming, make a list. Then we'll check to make sure there are no unexpected write-offs. I will do it. After the call, I sat down at my laptop and went through my subscriptions. Internet, electricity, water, garbage, streaming services. I made a separate note, password owner change. I noted that for electricity, it is listed as the second contact. I will have to update it. I wrote to the support service, attached a scan of the bill. They responded in an hour. The update will take 3 business days. In the evening, I stopped by Radio Coffee. There was a girl working the counter I hadn't seen before. She was wearing a badge with the name Nora. I asked for a filter. With milk? She asked. No, black. Would you like a piece of pecan pie? She asked, smiling like someone who knew she was offering too generously. Some other time, I said. Okay. She set her mug on the coaster. We're having bluegrass on Friday. If you're having a rough week, come on by. Maybe I'll come in. I sat in the corner, jotted down a few more items in my notes. Duplicate keys, alarm, map on the wall in the living room. At the next table, a couple was arguing about choosing a school for their child. I listened without getting involved. This was not my life. On Tuesday morning, Amelia sent a short message. Her signature is in. The courier is bringing the originals. An hour later, another. Received. Submitting today. I replied, okay, and went to the server room. Green indicators were lit on the panels. I checked the logs. Everything was as on a normal Tuesday. In the evening, I received a letter from the bank's accounting department. Confirmation of the closure of the joint credit card at our request from Monday. I withdrew cash from my account for a bonus for the mechanic who was supposed to come in the morning. Then I called Teresa at the branch and asked how many days it would take to fully close the joint account after the final distribution. She said, 5 working days after submitting the documents. I wrote it down. On Wednesday night, Melissa texted, I'll be there Saturday at 2 o'clock. I'll pick up boxes, kitchen supplies, clothes, marketing books, bike. The rest later, if you agree. I texted back, okay, bike from the garage. The rest list. I'll be home. She sent the list 15 minutes later. It made perfect sense. Neither of us had a habit of grabbing things that didn't belong to us. I printed out the list and put it on the kitchen table. I put an empty box for her books on the shelf next to the TV. I attached a clip with a printout of the subscription schedule that I would be transferring to the refrigerator. Thursday night was the first night in a long time that I slept without an alarm clock. I woke up early at 6, made myself some oatmeal, and went out on the porch. My neighbor had hung out an American flag for Veterans Day, which was next month. He waved at me. I waved back. I felt like the house wasn't hanging over me. It was just sitting there. It felt quiet inside. On Friday morning, Amelia sent a letter. Package accepted by the court. Timer started. If all goes as planned, finalization in 8 weeks. I read it and put the phone on the table. I felt like I was doing what an adult should do, not running around in circles, but closing questions one by one. I took an empty bag out of the hallway closet and filled it with things that needed to be taken to the charity shop. Old lamps, a couple of frames, blankets we never used. At 2 o'clock, Melissa arrived in a car-sharing car. A middle-aged man in glasses came with her. He introduced himself as her lawyer's assistant, Tom. He greeted her politely, took a printout of our list out of a folder. We'll only take what's marked, he said. If we have to add anything, we'll send you an updated list. Okay, I replied. The garage is open. The bike is by the wall on the right. We worked without further ado. Tom checked off boxes. Melissa packed kitchen items into her boxes. I showed her where her baking pans and the coffee grinder she took to work were. She thanked me. We went into the bedroom one at a time. She took clothes, jewelry, and 2 blankets. I took her marketing books off the shelf and put them in a box. I don't take photo frames, she said. You take them, or give them back. They will stay with me. I'll decide later. In the garage, she found a helmet and a tire pump. I took her bike off the hook and checked the brakes. Okay, I said. I need to pump up the tires. I will do it. The neighbor from the street waved us off and went into his room. No one asked any questions. An hour later, The things were in the car. Tom counted the boxes against the list and signed the bottom. Received. I kept a copy. Thank you, he said. If we need another 2 hours another day, we'll write in advance. Write to Amelia, I replied. Melissa turned to me. I'll sign the main agreement this week, she said. My lawyer is making one amendment to the pension, a technical one. Let him send it to Amelia. He will send it. She stood for a second. You organized everything well. It had to be done. Okay? She grabbed the handle of her suitcase. Take care. And you. They left. The yard was quiet. I threw out the empty boxes and vacuumed the hallway. There was a brochure from the power company and a water bill in the mailbox. I took them inside and did some small things, changed the light bulbs on the porch, wiped down the shelves in the living room, put away the things that were always in sight. By evening, I had packed bags for the charity shop. Frames, old pillows, 3 cracked cups. The kitchen felt a little more cluttered. I made a new shopping list. Sheets for the bed, towels, storage containers. No rush. Around 8 o'clock, I went to Radio Coffee. There were a lot of people. Friday, bluegrass on stage, a long line. I stood at the end. The same girl was behind the counter, Nora. She recognized me. Filter? She asked. Yes, and a piece of pecan pie. Good choice. She swiped the card and set down her mug. Local guys are playing today, no show-offs. If you want a spot, get in early. I'll stand to the side. How's the week been? She asked, not out of curiosity, but like someone who sees different faces. Dense. I'm dismantling the house. It's okay, you'll pass. She pushed a plate towards me. If the pie seems sweet, ask for water. Free. I nodded and went to the wall. The musicians played simply and evenly. People talked quietly. Someone stamped their feet. I ate pie, drank coffee, and listened. My thoughts returned to lists and deadlines, but they did not press. Closer to 10, I approached the counter to say, thank you. Nora smiled. Come on Sunday. It's quieter here in the evenings. I'm on shift until 11. I'll come in. At home, I tried the guitar. My fingers remembered. 5 chords, a couple of fragments. I didn't write it down, didn't set a goal. I was just checking if I could hear the instrument. On Saturday morning, I took my things to a charity shop. The woman at the reception filled out a receipt and asked if I needed a tax document to write it off. I took the form and put it in the glove compartment. Then I stopped at a bedding store. I bought sheets, 2 pillowcases, and an inexpensive blanket. At the entrance, I met a work friend, Sam from the network team. He looked at the bag, raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. We exchanged short remarks about the heat and parking and went our separate ways. After lunch, I laid new cable ties in the office, labeled the boxes with wires, put everything unnecessary in the closet. On the wall in the living room, I hung a map of national parks that I once bought and never took out of the tube. I turned the level, secured it. It looked neat. In the evening, my father called. He asked how things were going. I said, fine, according to plan. He repeated his phrase about the river and added, if you want to come for a week, come. I'll move a couple of things. I'll look at the schedule, I said. Maybe next month. On Sunday morning, I ran 3 miles along the river. People of all ages were running along the embankment. Dogs were pulling on their leashes. I kept a moderate pace, not rushing. After a shower, I called the power company and clarified the status of the contact change. The operator confirmed that the data would be updated on Tuesday. I noted this in the notes. After lunch, I prepared the guitar for the jam. I replaced 1 string, installed a tuner, checked the cable to the small combo amp that I had in my garage since college. I wrote to Mark that I would be in his garage on Saturday evening. He replied with the address and time. Later in the evening, I stopped by Radio Coffee again. People were sitting outside. It was quiet inside. Nora was wiping down the counter, saw me, and raised her finger. Just a second. She came over. As usual for you. Yes. We have 2 pieces of pie left. Should we take them? 1. She placed coffee and pie in front of me and leaned against the counter. "Are you a local?" she asked. "Yes. I was born in Nebraska, but I've been here for many years. I'm from New Mexico, in Austin on exchange, paramedic. Study during the day, sometimes work here. Shifts at night. Not easy, but interesting. It's definitely not easy. People are different. When on call, they don't argue about who's right. They do what needs to be done," she said. "Where do you work?" "Data center. Night shifts, hardware, and logs. A world without emotions if everything goes according to plan." "That's a good description," she chuckled. "I love worlds like that." We were silent for a couple of seconds. She asked, "Are you coming alone or with someone?" "One. It's easier now." "Got it. If you just want to sit in silence, that's fine here. We don't ask unnecessary questions. It's obvious." She went to the checkout to make a new order. I sat down by the window and opened my notes. I added 2 items, replace the old rug at the entrance, order a new filter for the pitcher. I set reminders on my phone. Before closing, Nora brought me a glass of water. "As a gift," she said. "It's good after coffee." "Thank you. There's music again on Friday. If you're in the mood, drop by." And also, she looked at my hands. "If you play, sometimes the guys come over on Sundays, no audience. You can come with a guitar. No one expects perfection." "I'll think about it," I said. At home, I put away the things I had bought, changed the bed, put the old sheets in the laundry basket. I checked the calendar for the week. Work, meeting at Mark's, call Amelia on Wednesday, change the filter on Thursday. On Monday morning, I received a letter from Amelia with a case number and a short line. "Waiting period included. Further according to plan." I replied, "Thank you," and opened the list of household tasks. I called the energy company, registered me as the sole payer. I filled out electronic forms for water and garbage. I changed the passwords on streaming services and deleted old profiles so that later I wouldn't have to remember who was linked to what. At work, everything was predictable. Javier brought me a spare power supply and asked, "Are you free this weekend? We want to move the counter." "I can on Sunday morning. I'm busy on Saturday." "Okay, I'll put it in the calendar." At lunchtime, I went to the bank. Teresa printed out the confirmation letter about the closure of the joint card and said, "As for the bill, wait for the final documents from the court. Then we'll see it through to the end." "Got it," I said. In the evening at home, I cleared out the remaining boxes from the hallway. A shelf in the closet became free. I didn't put anything new there, I just left it empty. I put the sheets to wash, turned on the fan in the garage, and checked the combo amp. It works. I wrote down the songs I remember on a piece of paper. "Free Fallin', Take It Easy, Wish You Were Here." No ambitions. On Tuesday, after my shift, I went to Mark's place. He had a kayak and helmets hanging on the wall in his garage, and a rug with the team's logo on the floor. 2 more guys showed up, Kevin with bass and Ray with a soft rhythm on his cajon. We weren't rehearsing like we were going to a show. We were just playing. "Let's start with American Girl," Mark suggested. "Who's doing the vocals?" "Let me do it, but not loudly," I said. We went through the song once, twice. Then, without discussion, we moved on to another. The breaks were short, the conversations were about instruments and strings. At some point, Mark poured everyone a glass of water and asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm getting divorced," I replied. "Without a scandal. The documents are in court." "Got it," he said. "If you want to keep quiet, keep quiet. If you want to talk, that's okay too." We ran through 2 more things and parted ways by 10. I left without euphoria, but with the feeling that my head had become quieter. On Wednesday morning, Amelia sent a list of next steps. Utilities updates, insurance check beneficiaries, mortgage no changes, just notify after final. I went through the insurance, changed the contact information, and checked that the beneficiaries didn't have the old wording. It all took 15 minutes. I stopped by Radio Coffee in the evening. There were few people inside. Nora was standing at the counter in a dark t-shirt and jeans. As usual, she asked. Yes, and water. It will. She poured and put the mug down. Did you play anywhere on Sunday? You look after the music. In a friend's garage. Great. We have a mobile street clinic on Saturday afternoons in South Austin. We're looking for a couple of hands to carry boxes and not have to wrestle with logistics. If you'd like, come by for an hour or two, starting at 9. What to do specifically? They'll bring supplies and folding tables. Your job is to carry them out, put them down, and sign the boxes. No medicine, just help. I can. Address? She wrote the address on a brochure and handed it to me. I put it in my pocket. How long have you been in Austin? I asked. Half a year here and there. Now I'm deciding whether to stay for a year. I like the job. I like the city too. But I have a habit of moving. Understand? Come on Saturday. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. It will work. On Thursday, I ran along the river to the pedestrian bridge and back. The pace was average. The dogs were drawn to the water. People smiled at their people. I returned home and planned for Saturday. Clinic in the morning, then chores around the house, guitar at Mark's in the evening, or a movie in the yard if I was in the mood. My father called during the day. How are you? He asked. I'm working. I'll help at a street clinic on Saturday. It's a good thing. And one more thing. If you're going to Lockhart this weekend for barbecue, let me know. I know a place with decent portions and no fuss. I'll write it down. Friday passed quietly in the office. I closed a couple of tickets, checked updates, sent out a report. In the evening, I didn't go anywhere. I just cooked pasta, turned on a playlist, and played chords for about 30 minutes. Went to bed early. On Saturday at 9, I was at the clinic site. It's a church parking lot, shaded by trees, a van with a logo. Nora was wearing gray pants and a t-shirt, her hair pulled back. She saw me and waved. Thank you for coming. Here are the carts. There are boxes with bandages, gloves, solutions. We need to put them on the tables. 3 tables for registration, 3 for nurses. Accepted. I took the cart and drove to the van. There was a guy in a vest standing next to me, and he introduced himself as Liam. First time? He asked. Yes. The main thing is not to put heavy things on the edge of the table, and not to argue if someone says, let's move it. There are many people here, everyone has their own habit. Understood. The work was simple and clear. In an hour, everything was in place. Nora walked between the tables, checked the ribbons, asked the volunteers who would stay where. Is it convenient for you to stay for another half hour? She asked. Yes. I helped bring a couple of chairs, put out the garbage bags. People started coming in, some for a consultation, some for a prescription, some for a certificate. I stayed away as requested. At 11, we finished with my part. Nora came up. Thank you. You did well. If you want to come once a week, let me know. I want to. It suits me. Okay? I'll add you to the list. I'll write the time. We grabbed tacos from the truck across the street and sat on the curb in the shade. Are you handling the changes well? She asked. I try. I don't like it when the rules are changed in the middle of the game, but sometimes there is no choice. Yes, she took a sip of water. It's like that in our work too. We don't control what happens next shift. We can only pack up and show up. We sat in silence for a while. The silence was not oppressive. When I stood up, she said, See you. See you. At home, I replaced the entryway rug, hung a small spice rack I bought last week on the kitchen wall, cleaned the outdoor grill, and made myself a late lunch. That evening, Mark texted, Today on break. Family stuff. See you next week. I texted, okay, and wasn't upset. I had enough to do without music. Sunday passed smoothly. Laundry, shopping, a quick call to Amelia reminded me about the letters from the court that would arrive in the mail and asked to confirm the address. I confirmed. In the evening, I stopped by Radio Coffee again. Nora was on shift. Next week, same clinic, she said. If you can, come at 9. I can. Good. And one more thing. If it gets hard, talk. We have a habit of holding on until it breaks. It's not always right. I'll try to speak. I took some coffee and sat down by the window. There were a few people left at Radio Coffee by closing time on Sunday. The music had been turned down and the baristas were wiping down the counter. Nora took off her gloves, threw them in a bucket, spotted me at the window, and came over. "Do you still choose black coffee?" she asked. "Habit, the last one for today." Then Bezcaf. She poured and put the mug down. "How's the week been?" "Smooth. The house is in order, the court is quiet. What about you?" "No surprises on shift. One fainting spell in the heat, 2 routine calls." She glanced at her watch. "I close in 10 minutes. If you want to walk to the parking lot, we'll go together." We walked outside. There were a few lights on the lot and a few cars in the parking lot. She nodded toward her old sedan. "The car is not pretty, but it always starts," she said. "It's better than beautiful and capricious." Agreed. She opened the trunk and threw her bag in. "Will you be at the clinic on Saturday?" "I will. It suited me." "Okay. And one more thing. We have an evening training session for new paramedics on Thursday." "A training session. We're just going over the algorithms. Outsiders can go in there as long as they stay away. If you're interested, I'll show you around the station. I'll come by. After work. Then write to me when you're there." She wrote down the number on a piece of paper. "I can't always hear the phone over the noise, but I'll take a look." We said goodbye briefly. I got into the car and drove home along empty Lamar. It was quiet inside. On Thursday, after my shift, I pulled into the station. A low brick building with 2 garages for cars nearby. The door was open, and it smelled of coffee and rubber. Nora waved from the room with the shift board, names, hours, colored markers. "Come in," she said. "There's a kitchen there if you need water. We have a board here. Shifts are set for the month. If it's red, we're hiring people." "What group are you in?" "Now it's the night one, but sometimes they put a mix on." She nodded at the table with the backpacks. "These are our bags. One has the respiratory system, the other has the medications. We always check the contents before the shift." I stood to the side, not touching anything. In the garage, a mechanic was checking a stretcher. The driver was wiping the headlights. "We're starting the drill in 15 minutes, Nora said. "If you want to watch, stand where you won't be in the way. We'll go through the standard routine without the patients." The training was going smoothly. The commands were short, without shouting. Nora spoke confidently, showed gestures, corrected the young guy on the stretcher. During the break, she came up to me. "It's boring from the outside," she said. "No, I understand. I like it when people have order." "It's not always enough," she replied. "But we try. How are you?" "Work is going on, the house too. Melissa took the things. Now just wait." "You're keeping up. I can tell." She picked up a bottle of water and took a sip. "Listen, I have a quick run to Zilker Park after practice. I need to pick up my bag from a colleague. If you want, we can walk to the river later." "Let's." 20 minutes later, we left. She quickly took the bag, we parked at Zilker and went to the water. People were riding boards. Someone was walking with children. It was warm, but not stuffy. "Are you okay with talking about marriage?" she asked. In short, no. We lived together for 11.5 years. At first, everything was simple. Then work, routine, few irrelevant conversations. I'm not making excuses. I also made choices that brought us further apart. Thursdays simply became a signal. "Do you want to blame?" "I'm not in that mode. I want to live on without the theater." "It sounds great, but it's hard to do," she said. "Sometimes people are drawn to the truth and justice scenario. I see it on calls when the conflict has already gotten out of control. I don't want to go there. Lawyer, plan, deadlines. This is my rail." "Good line." She stopped at the railing. "I don't like emotional promises, and I don't like when people expect someone to fix something. That's not what we're talking about." "Agreed. I'm not asking you to fix anything. I just feel good around you. You speak frankly, and you don't touch what's not yours." That's how it should be, she said. We can communicate. Without speeding up. Without, we're a couple now. You're in the process now. I won't interfere. Thank you. We walked a little further and sat down on a bench. She took a small container out of her bag. I have some pie left over from my last shift, she said. Share it. It's fine. I broke off a piece. It's sweet, but I don't mind. Sweets sometimes help people get through a tough week. She shrugged. It works on shifts. On shifts, yes. At home, sometimes too. Do you have anyone close to you in the city? Friends you can talk to? Colleagues with whom you can remain silent? Father is on the line. Musicians are in the garage. That's enough for now. Okay? If you want to add to the talk to me list, go ahead. No strings attached. I'll add. We looked at the water in silence. Then Nora said, I was offered a transfer to Austin for a year. The final decision is in a month. It's no secret. Are you leaning towards yes? I'm inclined to try to stay. But I have a habit of leaving. I often choose a new start over long projects. This is about me, not you. Thank you for speaking directly. It's important to me. I don't want anyone to think for me. We walked a little further to the parking lot. As we said goodbye, she said, the clinic is at 9 on Saturday. If you get sick, just write. We'll find another volunteer. I'll come. At home, I opened my notes and wrote down. Thursday station, Zilker, conversation, Saturday clinic. I took the clock off the wall, which always lagged, and replaced the battery. I checked the list of chores for the weekend. Everything was normal. Saturday was a busy day at the clinic again. Liam and I pulled out tables and labeled boxes. Nora quickly assigned volunteers. After the setup, she came over to me. Next month, we will expand the shifts. We need people for the morning and afternoon. Look at your schedule. I'm watching. And one more thing. She smiled. We have quiet evenings at the bar on Mondays. If you want, come in. I'm on shift until 10. I'll come in. We grabbed tacos and sat in the shade, like last time. She told a story without details, how an old man refused an ambulance twice, and then called himself and said, Come, I've changed my mind. We laughed. It was a normal laugh, without nerves. Have you noticed that at the clinic people rarely ask, why is this happening to me? She asked. They ask what to do. It's like how I live my life now, I said. Less why, more what next. Then live, she said, without plans for 100 years ahead, with normal steps for a week. After the clinic, I stopped at the hardware store and bought a small table lamp for the bedroom so I wouldn't have to turn on the overhead light. I hung new double hooks for a garland on the porch, not for today, but so I wouldn't have to reach up on a stepladder in the winter. I found an empty frame on the shelf in the living room and inserted the Santa Fe map Nora had mentioned in conversation. I put it on the edge without any particular meaning. In the evening, I picked up the guitar again. I played 3 songs, turned off the lights in the garage, and went out into the yard. The neighbor was grilling something and waved at me. I said hi and went back into the house. Sunday morning, I ran 2 miles, stretched, made oatmeal, checked my emails. Amelia sent an automatic update. Court has accepted the documents. Waiting. I closed my email and turned off my laptop. I put my phone face down. I stopped by Radio Coffee in the afternoon. It was empty, the air conditioner was noisy, the baristas were changing the milk. Nora was opening a box of disposable lids. Monday is quiet, she said. That's good. This rhythm suits me. Will you come by in the evening? I'll come by, if it doesn't fall through at work. I arrived at 9 on Saturday. The church car park was already half full. The van was parked with its doors to the shade, and the areas marked with chalk on the pavement were check-in, waiting, inspection. Liam waved at me from afar. You'll take the registration today, he said. We need hands that can read handwriting and not argue. It will do. On the table were forms in English and Spanish, a box of pens, and a roll of stickers with numbers. Next to it was a folding chair for the elderly, which could not be removed. Someone always asked to sit on it. I laid out the stacks, checked the numbers. Nora came over. "Thank you for coming," she said. "We have a stream from 10 to noon today. If there's anything you don't understand, call me." Okay? The first visitors came right away. A woman with a boy, a middle-aged man with a knee in a knee brace, a young couple. I explained the procedure. Fill out a form, take a number, wait at the waiting sign. Sometimes I helped complete the address or date of birth. One elderly woman asked a question in Spanish. I understood only half of it. I raised my hand. A volunteer in a vest ran up. "I'll translate," she said, and quickly decided everything. We worked rhythmically. A couple of times I had to calm down those who were trying to get in without waiting in line. I said, "We accept everyone. Please, 5 minutes and you'll be on the table." People nodded and moved aside. By 11, the heat was palpable. Nora brought a pitcher of water and paper cups to the table. There was a mark on her wrist from her gloves. Her hair had come loose from her elastic. She looked at the list. "You keep the pace," she said. "Without nerves. That's important. Everything is clear here. Filled in weighted past. We live like that in the data center too, it seems." A man of about 60 approached, wearing a baseball cap with the Longhorns logo. He took glasses out of his pocket. "The fine print," he said. "I still can't get used to it." "Let me read it out loud," I suggested. "You say it, I'll mark it." We went through the form point by point. He smiled when we finished. "Thanks, boy," he said. "You're great." The line didn't get any smaller. At noon, we took a short break. Nora sat on the edge of the table. "Do you want to move to the cargo?" she asked. "We need to drag the boxes with consumables into the shade." "Let's." Liam and I busied ourselves with the boxes. The cardboard was covered in dusty sand. The tape was catching on our fingers. I carried them. He marked them where they belonged. Nora handed out bags of water and reminded everyone to rub hand sanitizer on their hands. Closer to 1 o'clock, the flow ebbed. We began to pack up the tables. Nora stopped at my place. "How are you?" she asked. "It's fine. The heat is oppressive, but bearable." "We have ice in the car," she said. "Grab a bag if you need it." "I'm fine." We each grabbed tacos from a van. We sat on the side of the van in the shade, like last time. Kids were kicking a ball around. Nora took off her gloves and wiped her forehead. "You said you like order, but in life it rarely works," she said. "How do you handle surprises?" "Before bad, now better, because I have a to-do list and people to talk to. That doesn't make surprises pleasant, but understandable." "Sounds fair." She took a lime wedge and squeezed it on the taco. "Did you get any letters from the court?" "Yes. The timer is running. Amelia says that if no one starts arguing, everything will go without meetings." "Did you tell Melissa when you would pick up the rest of her things?" "She took the main thing. The rest according to the list in a week. We don't argue. We just close." "Fine." After the clinic, she suggested stopping by the station for 10 minutes to move my bag and leave a report. I waited at the entrance, looking at the shift board. A young guy was standing next to me, clicking his pen. "Newbie?" I asked. "Yes," he replied. "I thought there would be more action. But here there are forms, checks, protocols." "Action comes by itself," I said, "and order makes sure that everyone survives." He nodded and stopped clicking. I stopped by Radio Coffee again that evening. There weren't many people there. Nora wasn't working her shift, was ending in the afternoon. Trent was behind the counter. "How's the clinic?" he asked. "It's normal. Lots of people, but no panic." "Nora said you were smart." He poured me coffee. "That's praise. She usually keeps quiet. Tell him I'll come next time." I sat by the window. In my notes, I added, "Registration is okay. Spanish phrases needed. Name, date of birth, address. Keep stickers close." I didn't set myself the goal of becoming a medic, but I wanted to do my part better. Amelia called on Monday morning. Her lawyer sent one clarification on pensions. Technical. I'll send you a letter. Confirm the figure. Okay. How are you? She asked. I'm doing things. Everything is according to plan. Okay? If there is an emotional rebound, that's normal. Write if something seems wrong. Understood. In the evening, Mark wrote that the jam was postponed until Wednesday. I replied that I would come. At home, I checked the guitar, wiped the neck. I composed a short set, 3 songs without a solo. The role of rhythm suited me. It does not pull the blanket, but holds the whole structure. On Wednesday, the same 3 gathered in Mark's garage. We went through the songs without fuss. Kevin brought a small speaker to make the voices more audible. Between songs, Mark said, "We're thinking about buying an old drum kit on Craigslist. If we find it cheap, we'll add some Cajun sound." "I'm fine as is," Ray said. "But if you find it, that's okay." I smiled. For 10 minutes, all the talk was about hardware, not lives. That was useful. On Friday, I stopped by my dad's for a video call. He showed me the yard where the neighbor was putting up a new fence. "You look better," said the father. "Your voice is calmer." "Thank you. I volunteer on Saturdays. It keeps me going." "Do it. And come for a couple of days when you decide. I won't ask unnecessary questions." "Fine." On Saturday, the clinic was on schedule again. At the registration desk, I was already moving automatically. I remembered where the pens were, how to sort the forms, who to call for transfer. That same elderly woman came up. Seeing me, she smiled and pointed to the sticker. "No, 14. "That's right," I said. "They'll call you soon." She placed her hand on my forearm for a second as a sign of gratitude and then moved away. A small gesture, but it stuck. After our shift, Nora and I went to a Lammer for coffee. It was cool inside. We sat by the window. "You have a routine," she said. "That's good, but don't turn it into a wall." I understand. I try to leave room for the unexpected. For example, open cinema on Friday. "If you want, let's go." It's Escape from New York. "I'm not sure it's a good movie for midnight, but let it be." "I saw it on VHS at my uncle's," she said. "I agree. Let's take a blanket and water. No popcorn, I don't like it." Agreed. We agreed to meet at the entrance half an hour before the session. I arrived early and found a spot on the lawn. Nora brought a thin blanket and a thermos. "It's weird watching a movie on the grass," she said, "but I like it." Me too. There are no expensive chairs here, but there is sky. The film was moving along. We commented quietly, not disturbing the people around us. During the credits, Nora said, "I feel comfortable around you. No obligations. That's important to me." "It's the same for me," I said. "I'm not looking for a replacement for the past. I'm building mine now." "Then let's stay on this course." We walked to the parking lot without talking. She gave me a light goodbye hug, without a gesture that promises more than we are willing to give. Monday morning, a letter arrived from Amelia. Judge signed. Case closed. "We'll pick up certified copies for you this afternoon." I read the line twice. The body of the letter contained the date, case number, and brief instructions. Pick up the package from her. Stop by the county clerk's office to turn in the house papers. Notify the bank. No unnecessary words. At work, I closed a couple of tickets and took a lunch break to get things done. Amelia's office greeted me with regular water on the counter and a neat folder. She left right away. "Done," she said, placing the final decree of divorce on the table. "2 certified copies for you, 1 for the bank, 1 for the mortgage servicer. Here's the special warranty deed from her to you and the release assumption for the mortgage servicer. We've already sent the electronic package, but it's still best to hand in copies in person." "Thank you," I said. "How long do I have to wait for the mortgage?" "A week or 2. They have internal deadlines. Payments are made as before. If you want to refinance, that's a separate story, not now." "I don't want to now. I want to close the circle." "Then let's move on down the list," she said. "County clerk, first window on the left, state fee by card, then the bank, and, she looked up, update the beneficiaries in the 401k. I know you already checked, but still, and insurance. That's important. I will do it. There was a short line at the county office. A man was drawing up a marriage contract in front of me, and people were talking leisurely outside the window. I went to the window, handed over the deed, and paid the fee. The bespectacled employee looked at the papers and said, "The recording will appear in the system by evening. If you want a copy on site, wait 15 minutes. I'll wait." I sat down on a plastic chair and looked at the people around me. Someone was getting a child's birth certificate. Someone was getting a building permit. The usual business of the city. 15 minutes later, they gave me a copy, attached a receipt. I thanked them and went to the bank. Teresa smiled when she saw the folder. "So it's the finale?" she asked. "Yes, you need to close the joint account and mark it for the mortgage service. Joint 5 working days. We will transfer the remainder by agreement. For the mortgage, we will make a record and send a courier. You will receive confirmation by mail." We signed 2 sheets. She printed out a temporary certificate. "And one more thing," said Teresa. "Check the box in a couple of days. The services love paper." "I'll check." At home, I put the copies in a fireproof bag and put them in the bottom drawer of the safe. I opened the notes, crossed out 3 items, and added new ones. Change locks. Call auto insurance. 401k beneficiaries. I decided to change the locks not out of distrust, but to get rid of unnecessary things in my head. I called a locksmith and made an appointment for the next day at 5. In the evening, I went out onto the porch with a guitar. The neighbor on the right waved. "How are things there?" he asked. "According to plan, we signed the final today." "Well, that's good. If you need it, I have an extra stepladder. I told you about garlands in winter." "I remember," I said. Inside, I took apart the top drawer of the nightstand. I found a couple of things I hadn't used in years and put them in a donation bag. On the living room wall, I moved the dresser a couple of inches so that the empty corner wouldn't be too noticeable. I put a floor lamp I bought over the weekend there. The light became softer. I found myself not thinking for 2. I just do what's convenient. Father called. "Well?" he asked. "Done." The judge signed. "Well done. I'm glad you got through it calmly. Come over for a couple of days when you can. It's cooler here. I'll put an old tool rack in your garage. In a month, maybe. There are shifts at work." "We're waiting." After the call, I texted Nora briefly, "Case closed." She responded 20 minutes later, "Want to celebrate with pie and coffee. My shift is quiet after 9 tomorrow." "Yes," I wrote. In the morning, I changed the beneficiaries in my 401k via my personal account, selected estate, and added my father as a secondary. I deleted the second entry for car insurance. It all took less than an hour. I left a copy of decree and a list of who to show on request in my desk: bank, insurance, mortgage. The locksmith arrived on time, as agreed. He replaced the cylinders on the front door and the garage door, and gave me 2 new sets of keys. I paid and wrote down the date in my notes. "The locks are good," he said. "If anything happens, call us and we'll make a duplicate." "Thank you." I stopped by Radio Coffee in the evening. Nora was standing behind the counter. "Congratulations," she said simply, without the party intonation. "How are you feeling?" "Easier. Not euphoria. Just clear. That's a normal reaction." She placed a filter and a piece of pie in front of me. "We don't toast finals. We eat and go to bed at the right time." "Fits." We sat down by the window when the stream had cleared. She asked, "Is there anything you want to do in the next few days, now that you can?" "Nothing big. I want to buy a proper bed, not live on an old mattress. I want to build a music corner in the garage, and I want to go to Lockhart for barbecue. My dad has been talking about it for a long time. All 3 points are good. I can help you choose a store with the bed. We have a guy in our team who works in the warehouse. He can suggest a discount. If it's not too much trouble, just ask. I'll ask. She finished her water. Are you at the clinic on Saturday? Yes, as usual at 9. On Wednesday after work, I stopped by a mattress store. The consultant spoke quickly and to the point. I lay down on two options, chose a moderately hard one, ordered delivery for Friday. The old mattress will be taken away. In the evening, we played 3 songs in Mark's garage and ran away Everyone Has Work Weeks. On Thursday, I received a letter from the mortgage service. Your request to change the responsible party has been accepted. The system update will take up to 10 days. At the bottom, payment on schedule. I smiled and set a reminder for 2 weeks. Friday's delivery was on time. 2 guys carefully brought in the new mattress and took the old one away. I made the bed. I changed the curtains in the living room to thicker ones without a pattern. I put a small shelf in the kitchen for spices, which I had marked out in advance. The house looked different, but not alien. On Saturday at the clinic, everything went according to the usual pattern. Liam put me back on the register. It's less hot today, he said. Let's keep up the pace. We'll hold on. During the break, Nora sat down next to me. I sent your name to the volunteer coordinator, she said. Now you're on the official list. If you leave, just let me know. Thank you. And one more thing. She raised an eyebrow questioningly. Do you have plans after the clinic this afternoon? I want to stop by an audio store and look at a guitar stand and cables. Let's go together. My headphones are broken too. I left for Lockhart early Saturday morning. The road was empty. The GPS was silent. The roadsides were sparsely lined with antiques and farm eggs. My father was waiting for a call. I turned on video calling in the parking lot so I wouldn't have to keep my phone on the steering wheel. Well, he said, take the brisket. Half a pound is not enough. Take a pound and some sausage. Accepted. It smelled of smoke inside. Behind the counter, a man in an apron was slicing meat slowly, as if each piece were part of a silent deal. Brutus and sausage, he clarified. Yes, and 2 bakeries. With you? To go, and 2 more sandwiches separately. I went outside, sat down on a wooden bench. Called my father again, showed him the bags. It looks normal, he said. Eat there, you can't drive it for 3 hours. I'll eat one. I'll take the rest to Austin. I ate slowly. The smoke didn't interrupt the taste. The second portion remained in the bag. On the way back, I wrote to Nora, Are you on shift? I'll drop by to leave lunch. She replied 5 minutes later, Yes, I'll be at the station until 3. You can pass it on to the kitchen. The station was half empty. The cars had gone to a call. Nora was sitting at the table with reports. This is for you and the guys, I said, putting the bag down. The smell is deadly, she smiled. Thank you. We'll appreciate it. We went out for a short break near the garage. How's the road? She asked. An hour there, an hour back. Normal. I like these trips. The goal is clear, no talking. Good format, she said. I have a window this afternoon. If you want to walk by Lady Bird Lake, text me. I won't have a car, so I'll take a scooter. All right. At 4 we met at the steps to the embankment. People were walking their dogs. Some were riding boards. We walked slowly. I've been thinking about my decision to transfer, Nora said. I'm leaning toward staying for a year. It's not a forever promise, but it's a fair amount of time. Honest, I said. It makes me feel better. And one more thing. If you have a desire to designate status, it's better to speak directly. I don't like pendants. I'm in no hurry. Specific weeks are important to me, not signs. Okay? We reached the bridge and sat on a bench. A guy was teaching a girl to ride a scooter nearby. She fell and got up silently, not looking around. How are you sleeping? Nora asked. After divorces, many people's routines are torn apart. The first weeks, yes. Now I sleep more evenly. It helps when there are no phones in the evening. Here you go. Sleep is half the psyche. On the way back, she stopped at a lemonade stand. Will you? I'll take some water. That's right, she said. Sugar doesn't always help. Sunday, we met at the farmer's market in Mueller. Nora came with a backpack and a list. Eggs, greens, bread. What are you looking for? She asked. Basil in a pot and something for breakfast. We took an omelet from the tent and sat down on the curb. When was the last time you made breakfast outside of a weekend? Nora asked. A long time ago. At night, I usually drink coffee and eat a candy bar. During the day, either leftovers or toast. Buy normal cereal without sugar and Greek yogurt. Add honey, and that's it. This is not advertising, this is practice. I will do it. At the counter with seedlings, the seller showed me 2 types of basil. I took the simpler one and a small mint to go with it. Nora looked at my pots. If they dry up, don't blame yourself. This is Austin. Even cacti give in sometimes. I'll water it. Watering is the plan, she said. It suits you. After the market, she left for her shift. I stopped by home and transplanted the plants into a larger container, put them in a sunny spot where it wouldn't be too hot at midday. My father called in the evening. I told him about Lockhart and the market. He said, "It's good to hear that you have things to do on the weekend. That's the right amount of work. Listen, and don't forget about the car's technical inspection. Your deadline is coming soon. I will add it to the list." On Monday, Javier asked me to help with the night transfer of the props. We worked in silence with a break for water. We finished by 2 in the morning. He said, "You've become different. Not in a bad way, just more collected. Thank you. Do you still play music?" "Yes, on Wednesday in Marco. I'll come and listen, if possible." "Come in. We are not a concert." On Wednesday, Javier showed up in Mark's garage with 2 cans of soda. We played 4 songs. He sat there, nodded, and left. "Your voice has become more even," Mark said. "No more jerks. When you don't spend nights in your head, that's how it turns out." On Thursday, the locksmith came to see me again. I asked him to check the lock on the gate. He did it in 10 minutes. I realized that I no longer had in my head, what if she comes in? That thought was gone. Friday after work, Nora texted, "Got an hour window. Walking north Lamar and Faux. Coming, coming." We met at Faux Dan. It was quiet and cool inside. We each got a small bowl. "Soup is the best supper after shifts," she said. "Warm and not heavy." Agree. "How's work?" she asked. "Exactly. I took 2 nights in a row to close the project. Then I'll take a break on the weekend." "Don't overdo it. The body needs rest." He flew. She pointed to my left hand. "Does your watch remind you to drink water?" "Yes." I set it up. "And the steps." "It's normal. Sometimes external reminders save you." After dinner, we walked around the block. Nora said, "I told the coordinator that I'm staying for a year. The papers will come in a week." "Thank you for telling me." "It's important to me that you hear this from me," she replied. "And one more thing. If you ever feel like I'm getting too deep into my work, tell me. I can fall through the cracks during shifts." I'll tell you. On Saturday, I didn't go to the clinic. I was replacing Javier in the data center. Nora sent a photo of a table with boxes and a short, "We got it done." I arrived in the evening to her station with a container of pasta. She was sitting on the porch. "Is this for us?" she asked. "Yes. Homemade. Without the sauce from the jar. I remember what you said about sugar." "You're attentive," she said. "That's rare." We ate in silence. On Wednesday, closer to midnight, Nora wrote, "I'm sitting at the station waiting. If you're not sleeping, bring me some coffee. We're all down." I had just finished checking the logs and could leave. I stopped by the 24-hour room, got 2 large filters, a couple of sandwiches, and water. The station was breathing the silence of the night. The light in the garage, the shift chart on the wall, the open door to the street. "Savior," Nora said, taking the glasses. "The kitchen is over there. Let's go before we get caught." A driver named Shane sat in the kitchen, leafing through his schedule. He nodded at me and took half a sandwich. Nora put some mustard on herself, cut off a piece, and pointed with her eyes to the table by the window. Let's sit here. If there's a challenge, we'll break loose. We ate without talking for a couple of minutes. Then she asked, "You said you'd tell me about Thursdays in detail when it's all over. Is now that moment?" "Yes, I don't want to go back there often, but I owe you. You're close, and it's important for me to be honest." She nodded and placed the phone face down. "Speak." It all started with a reminder on her iPad. Room reserved, Thursday, the Haywood. And a text from LF. I didn't dig around. "I went to a corporate lawyer," he said. "Get the facts legally. I hired a private investigator, Ashley." She looked at public places, hotel lobbies, parking lots, receipts, plus Tuesdays the gym on South Congress. I didn't hack anything. I just wanted to figure out where I was standing. Okay? When I had the facts, I went to a divorce lawyer. We put together a quiet package. The house for me, compensation for her. No scene, no press, no word, cheating in the documents. I was happy with the idea of closing it quickly and not dragging out the dirt. "And you spoke with the general?" "Yes, at Perry's." I put the folder in his hand and told him I needed an adjustment to Melissa's compensation to close her share of the house. No threats, no show. He agreed. On Friday, a courier brought the papers. I handed Melissa the package. She left that evening. We signed everything within 2 weeks. The court dismissed the case last week. "You were very focused," Nora said. "Really focused. Not writing a check for emotion, but getting the job done." "I'm not a hero. I just didn't want war. And one more thing. I never wrote or said anything about Tuesdays. It's not necessary. They already understood everything." "That's also about maturity," she said, "not using too much." We were silent for a minute. The night humidity blew through the open window. In the garage, someone sat on the bumper of a car and started going through the first aid kit. "Are you angry?" Nora asked. "I used to be angry. Now I'm not. I'm tired of anger. It's expensive. It's better to use my energy on things I can control. Home, work, running, your Saturday project." That sounds reasonable. But anger has a tail. If it catches up with you, don't be surprised. Just say it out loud. "I'll tell you, and I'll tell my father." "Fine." She took a sip of coffee and looked out the window. "I'll tell you about myself, too. I often choose to leave when things get crowded. A change of city, a new team, a new routine. It's been like that since childhood. My mother moved a lot for work. We often changed schools. It's a habit. I'm learning to stay. Staying for a year is a step for me. But I don't promise forever. I don't like the word forever. I'm not asking. I need an honest year without suspended expectations. We can be together without labels. If at some point one of us feels bad, we talk." "Yes," she said. "And one more thing. I'm not a therapist. I have empathy, but don't make me a 24/7 support service. I have nights, I have people in the car, I have different breathing exercises during my shift. I can be there, but not always. I understand. I don't need a system replacement. I need a live connection." Then we agree. There was a short alarm. Shane stood up, looked out the window, nodded. "False." He sat back down. Nora exhaled. "We have a lot of those," she said. "People call, then cancel. We don't argue. We check the bags again." "Do you have a ritual after your shifts to help your brain unload?" "Yes. Toast with an egg, a shower, 10 minutes of silence without phones, and a short report to myself. What I did right, what I'll fix next time. No self-flagellation. I make something similar. Only instead of toast, I have oatmeal. Oatmeal is fair." She looked at me intently. "What's next for you and your house?" "The mortgage service is updating the records. The bank closed the joint account. I changed the locks. Bought a mattress. I'm assembling a music corner in the garage. I made a shelf for spices in the kitchen. I want to hang a garland on the porch in the winter. I've even put in the nails." "In advance is your style." "Yes, I feel calmer this way. Then I have a proposition, Nora said. When you feel ready for the first proper dinner at your place, no special occasion, just food and music, say so. I'll bring a salad and that pecan pie. You make the pasta your way, and we won't discuss biographies. I'm ready. Next week. Thursday after your day, or Sunday after the clinic, so you don't have to run. Sunday is better. I don't like running to get food after 12 o'clock. Then Sunday. I'll add an outlet for the garland on the porch before then so I don't have to drag an extension cord through the window. I knew you'd say that, she smiled. Okay? We fell silent again. It was quiet all around. No speeches, no conclusions. Just a night at the station, coffee in paper cups, and a conversation that didn't ask for a period. A young paramedic, the same one who had clicked the handle last time, looked through the door. "Can I get some water from the refrigerator?" he asked. "Take them," Nora said, "and make sure you have extra gloves in your bag. Someone ran out again this morning." He nodded and left. Nora looked at me. "Are you okay with us?" "Yes, there is a rhythm here. I don't interfere with your work. You don't interfere with mine. And yet we are close. This is the base." She stood up, rinsed the mug, and put the wrappers in the trash. "I have to go round and check the oxygen and the stretcher," she said. "You go home and get some good sleep, and write down what day is convenient for you for dinner." "All right." On the way out, we paused at the door. She put her hand on my shoulder, briefly, without saying anything extra. "You're doing the right thing for yourself," she said. "It shows. Go on without haste. Thank you for your directness. And for coffee, too." I walked out into the night. The air was warm but bearable. I drove down empty Lamar, turned off the radio, and replayed our conversation in my head. No heady hope, no viscous melancholy. A clean, adult-style agreement. A year, honestly, without dangling promises, with the right to say, stop. I drove home and wrote in my notes. Sunday dinner. Pasta, water, playlist, outlet on the porch. I set the alarm for 9 Saturday clinic at 9. Need to be in shape. Before going to bed, I walked around the house, turned off the lights, checked the locks. There was a certified copy from the court on the nightstand. We left at 7 a.m. on Friday. I texted the clinic coordinator that I would be out on Saturday and suggested we close the morning unloading next time. He said okay. Nora showed up with a small backpack, a first aid kit, and a paper bag of sandwiches. I checked the tires and oil, threw water and a blanket in the trunk. "Shall we agree on the rules of the road?" she asked, fastening her seat belt. "Let's go." The first 2 hours without difficult topics. Music, coffee, view. I agree. If things get alarming, we say pause and stop. Fits. There was almost no traffic. Outside Fredericksburg, we stopped at a roadside coffee shop. We each got a filter and 8 sandwiches at a table under an awning. I called my dad and told him I was heading west for the weekend. He wished me a good trip and reminded me about the tire pressure. I checked it again. After Fort Stockton, the landscape became flat. We were quiet, discussing road signs and the map. Nora checked her messages from time to time. Her shift had been moved to Tuesday, which freed us up until Sunday evening. "Where are we spending the night?" she asked. "A small casita on the outskirts. 2 rooms, a simple kitchen. The owner will leave the key under the doormat. It's convenient. I like it when there is a kitchen." We entered Marfa at about 2. The main street was quiet. We found a casita, left our bags, and went straight to Chinati. At the reception, they signed us up for the next hour. The guide explained the rules. Walk along the path. Do not touch the structures. There were concrete boxes on the field. We walked along them, stopping at several. Nora took a bottle of water from her backpack and handed it to me. "I'm not talking about art," she said. "But I like it when something lasts a long time and doesn't require attention every hour." Me too. In a data center, it's the other way around. If you don't touch anything, in a day, everything touches you. And here, let it stand. Our job is to see and leave, she said. We walked the entire route. I wasn't looking for meaning in it. I was just walking. At the exit, we bought 2 tickets for tomorrow to see other spaces. In the evening, we stopped by Food Shark, got some falafel, and went to the observation deck for Marfa lights. There were a few cars there. People were sitting on benches and looking at the horizon. We sat on a blanket. If we see lights, we won't argue about what they are, Nora said. We'll just look and then go to bed. Agree. We didn't see any lights. The sky was getting dark. The cars were leaving. I felt calm. I didn't want to prove or explain. I thought that in such silence, it was easy to make short decisions that would last a week. At the casita, Nora suggested we split the kitchen chores. She washed the fruit and made tea. I cleaned and put on water for the morning. We did everything quickly. The rooms were simple, with clean linens. She said good night and closed the door behind her. I lay down, replayed the day in my head, and fell asleep without my phone. In the morning, I made coffee. We went out to the car with bottles of water and hats. On the way to Valentine, we stopped at Prada Marfa. There were no photographers. An empty road, a glass facade. Nora took a picture of the window with her phone and said, "It's a strange thing. It stands in the middle of nowhere and doesn't bother anyone." "The main thing is that it doesn't bother anyone," I answered. In Marfa, we stopped at a bookstore. I bought a thin brochure about local routes and a notebook. Nora took postcards for her team. On the back, she wrote, "Stopping is not always a weakness." She gave me one. "This is for your board in the bedroom," she said. "I'll put it down." In the afternoon, we returned to Chinati, walked through the aluminum boxes in the hangar. It was cool there. The guide asked us not to speak loudly. We stood and watched. No conclusions. After the museum, we sat in an empty stand at a stadium we came across on the way. "Do you still keep Thursdays in your head?" Nora asked when no one was around. "Less often. Sometimes the habit of checking calendars pops up. I notice it and put my phone aside. The day before yesterday, I deleted the tags in Google Calendar that were dragging along like a tail. I left only work and volunteer work. I added music. Calls to my father are on Sundays and Wednesdays. This is a good set. Nothing extra. I sometimes feel guilty that I feel better, like I moved on to my list too quickly. You did the job. Lawyer, bank, house, conversations without scandal. Guilt doesn't help here. Routine and honesty help. You didn't abandon anyone. You made a decision. Agree. We went to the Paisano Hotel, to the courtyard, and drank lemonade. A couple was discussing the festival nearby, and a waiter was writing down orders without a piece of paper. I thought that none of them knew about our lists, and that was okay. In the evening, we went to the Marfa light site again. There were more people. Someone turned on the radio. I turned off notifications and took Nora's blanket. 2 dots flashed on the horizon. Someone said, "See." We looked and said nothing. "We've seen it, and that's enough," Nora said. "Let's not argue." We won't. In the casita, I laid out my notebook and wrote down a few things. Don't rush, speak directly, don't check the past. Nora asked from the next room, "Am I disturbing you?" "No. I write it down so I don't have to keep it in my head. It's a convenient way. I do the same after my shift." We woke up early, packed our things, and headed towards Austin. On the way out of town, I stopped at a small gas station. Nora went to get coffee, came back with 2 glasses and a bag of nuts. "Let's talk about boundaries briefly," she said in the car. "I don't ask questions about Melissa that you don't bring up yourself. You don't ask me about past relationships. If something is needed for safety, we'll say it. Otherwise, we'll talk about the current one." Agreed. And one more thing. I don't text you at night unless it's related to my plans for the morning. You don't call me during my shifts without a reason. Yes, and if one of us suddenly disappears for a day, the other one doesn't think up anything bad. He just writes, "Alive," she smiled, "without control." Okay. After Fredericksburg, we turned on the radio. Nora fell asleep for half an hour. I drove smoothly, without jerks. As we approached Austin, she woke up, looked out the window, and said, "Good trip. No overload." Yes, and not a single quarrel. It's important. We didn't test each other's strength. We just lived for 2 days. That was the plan. At the casita, I picked up the trash and washed the mugs. At home, I put the postcard on the board in the bedroom, next to the monthly items. I immediately wrote down, Marfa closed. Next, nothing mandatory. A typical week. In the evening, I called my father and told him briefly about the trip. He asked, and what's useful? I didn't check the past, didn't build theories, and didn't rush. I was calm. This is useful. Stick to it. On Monday, I opened the calendar and finally deleted the old tags. I left clinic, jam, call dad. On Wednesday, I met Mark. We played the set without discussion. On Friday, I stopped by Radio Coffee. Nora came home from her shift early, sat by the window with tea. How are you after the journey? She asked. It's fine. I posted your postcard. Good. I have the final yes for a year in Austin in a month. So far, everything is in that direction. Then let's move on with our plan. According to our plan, she said. We discussed Sunday clinic and home shopping. Not a word about Thursdays. I found myself not even thinking about that phrase all week. I had other days with clear content, and this was not a lie. This was a new reality. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.